Alright, welcome back ladies and gentlemen to the Chupacabra tutorials channel. I'm your host Larry, and today we're going to be making a lobby style overlay for Twitch or whatever streaming platform you like to use. I like YouTube. And what a sort of lobby style overlay is you've got a little spot here for your webcam. You got a chunk here that lets people see the chat as it's getting relayed to the stream. And then, of course, they get to see whatever game or footage that the streamer wants them to see in the main box over here. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a Nintendo Gameboy inspired overlay. Something a little bit more simple that's a little bit more universally useful. Maybe not like a cloud border just yet. We might add that to a later rendition. This version, for a friend of mine, I made using this theme up here with the little kind of like reddish-orange border. But I think what we'll do today is we'll make the gray-gold equivalent. So to do that, I suppose we'll use this as reference material, so I'll just grab my tool over here. I'm going to be working in Illustrator and Photoshop for this because I like to jump between both for different reasons. Mainly cutting out holes in things to make them transparent. So, starting out in Illustrator, I'm going to grab this artboard tool over here on the side. That's Shift-O. This allows me to take my workspace and just kind of move it around if I need to. Although something's locked, let's go ahead and unlock everything. I'm going to move that up there, and then I'm going to click over here, and I'm going to determine the size and unlock it here of a 1920 by 1080 canvas. I mean, you can use this as whatever size you want. This is going to be vector, so we can scale it. You just want to make sure it's a 16 by 9 aspect ratio image. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on the selection tools, and we're going to start working. So the first thing we probably want to do is grab a background color. I'm going to go over here to my rectangle tool. What kind of coloration is this background? It's kind of like a gray, but we've got to put that on something. What did I put this one on? There's like this kind of off color down here that I used before. It's kind of almost like an off purple color. So what do we got up in Goldilocks Town? We've got this gray and we've got a black. So let's say that the lighter gray is going to be the inner color. And we'll sample by hitting I. We'll sample this black color here, just for kicks. And we'll use our rectangular tool. We'll make it a little bit bigger than we need to, just to make sure that it goes off the edges and nothing clips or bleeds. In fact, we'll select it and we'll go up here to the top with our selection tool selected, and we'll just align it with these alignment tools. And that doesn't really look like the black I was looking for. Let's see if we can't get that to behave a little better. It says that's what I wanted, but that's not really what I'm looking for. So let's just manually select like almost black in our color palette over here, just to get started. And then the other thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to start adding these boxes. So we're just going to kind of look for a relative layout. And to do that, I'm going to just start by working with the webcam. I like to start with webcams because I know the aspect ratio of those pretty well. Pretty much all video devices, I like to keep them at a standard 16 by 9, that way things don't look funny. So with that in mind, I'm going to make this 1920 by 1080 again. Is this 1920? Yes. And this is going to allow us to basically hold down shift and make this as big or as little as we need it to be. So this is width and then height. Oh, wait, I did this backwards. 1920. And then we'll unlink this and we'll make this 1080. That did look funny to me. So now that this is a locked aspect ratio, we'll relock that. Now we can hold the shift key and we can make it as small as we need to maintain that sort of screen size aspect ratio. And that's a good size, I think, for the webcam. We're going to nestle this comfortably up here in the corner. And then I'm going to click it. I'm going to hold Alt so that it automatically duplicates it when I drag it. And then I can bring this down. This will suddenly become the chat window. That's a pretty quick way to start to delineate spaces in your work. And if you hold Alt and Shift at the same time, after you start dragging, it'll then try to align it to your previous shape that you were working with. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring this up to here. Hopefully it kind of snaps on me. If not, I'll just have to eyeball it a little bit. That's not bad. Just zoom in up here and be like, sproink. And if at any time you need to hit Control R to bring out a ruler so you can make sure everything aligns properly, you know, never be afraid to do that. They are your tools for a reason. They're not just there to look cool when you're trying to impress the boss, see? And then we'll just group these by hitting Control G, and I'll just quickly align them and then ungroup them by right-clicking. Delete that guide since I'm not using it right now. And that's a decent start. Now the other thing I want to do is these are all going to become rounded shapes, and I'm going to want them to be a lighter gray color. So we're going to select all of them. We're going to hit A, select the direct select tool, and we're going to see these little circles here in each of the corners. If I yank on those, they start to round the corners like the Game Boy interface is naturally rounded and smooth, so your eyes don't get cut on any of those sharp edges, which I think probably is a good thing. I'm going to make sure all of this is properly aligned and everything using the alignment tools. If I select this and I use this little button here, it aligns it to the bottom edge of this main object, and when you select multiple objects and you select one of them twice, it'll get a darker, thicker edge to it so you know which one you're going to align based off that one. So that's always really nice. So these are starting to get rounded. The next thing we need to do is to define an inner edge, because we need like these inner white hard edged boxes. So I'm just going to duplicate this and put it right back over top. And then I'm going to size this down, because I'm going to resize this in a moment. Then I'm going to start to say this should be a lighter gray. We'll do that over here with this one as well. And there's really not a right or wrong answer when it comes to overlays. It's whatever you think looks good and you think your viewers or someone else's viewers would enjoy. So which gray did I use? I used number 4. So let's go back over here and select this and say I want number 4. This we might have to make taller so that it fits a little bit more evenly so all the edges and borders of this aren't like a weird shape. Do we want the webcam to be like a different thing? I kind of feel like yes, although that might make it a little bit small for people to see. That's completely up to you. You know, these are one of those things where you'd be prepared to tweak it later if you need to. And we'll just nudge this up here. Once again, we'll make this that number 4 gray. And we'll move this over so it better kind of sits centered. And you're going to come back and tweak this stuff a lot, so don't really worry about it right now. Like, for example, I'm going to make this taller, over a little bit. And as we can see, it's starting to take shape, although this might just end up being a hard-edged thing, these inner ones. So we'll just make all of those like that. And then these ones we'll have to make a little bit smaller just because we need room for our sort of prettified kind of golden border that we're going to add to make it mimic a certain type of Game Boy interface. And I don't think you're going to get in trouble with anybody so long as it's just inspired by the Nintendo Game Boy and not like a complete pixel for pixel recreation, because that tends to PO different companies when you do stuff like that. So now I'm going to select everything, because I've got some extra space I'm not sure if I want. And I'm going to hit Shift and unselect the background. I'm just going to kind of nudge this around and get rid of more of that border that I'm not going to really want wasted space on, and then ungroup everything once I'm done. And yeah, it's starting to look really good. Now we need to add, like on this I had a red border. On this one I'm going to add something similar, but it's going to be a gold border. So I'm just going to start by copying this white block here and then removing the fill color. There's a fill and there's a stroke. There's the main like surface area of an object, and then there's like the border around it. That's the difference between those two. So we want like kind of like a royal gold. This might be annoying to find a good color on. So let's go to color books. Let's go to CMYK just for kicks. Because this is all going to get converted to RGB anyway. So it don't really matter. What looks like a good kind of gold? Let's go with... Oh yeah, that'll definitely knock some socks off. So let's go over here to make sure we're selecting the right colored thing. We're gonna need to make this a way thicker stroke. Let's just bump this up to like a... Oh, I don't know. Just bump it to like 14 so I can actually see it while we're working. And then, yeah, we're probably gonna need to make this inner white box a little smaller, but that happens. You can only eyeball it so far before you actually have to start making conscientious decisions to how it should look. That's actually not bad already. I'll make this a little smaller. And we'll select everything to this, kind of center everything a little. Yeah, that looks pretty good, actually. This could be a darker gold, though. I'm not really thrilled about this gold. Or a brighter gold? More saturated gold? A Goldilocksier gold? Maybe not that gold. That's kind of too washed out. That's a little too orangey. So much of this is just trial and error, as you kind of get an eye for it, really, too. So if you don't get it right off the bat, don't, freak out and explode. Then we'll recenter everything with Control-0. And that's not looking bad. It's looking pretty good, actually. So we'll just start defining these. Like that. Doesn't really matter what object you start with. You could start with the... How much is this pulled in? I don't know. I'll have to figure it out. Let's just make a duplicate of you. Actually, wait. We'll make these smaller first. Let's this smaller, this smaller. And then I can individually center these. Yeah, that looks really good. I might have to change the webcam size, because this needs to be a little wider. It's kind of not wide enough. And then the whole thing can just be a smidgen smaller. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So now we'll make a copy of you, bring it up like this, pull it down over to here. We will remove the fill, and then we will add this yellow stroke. Hopefully, if it wants to behave itself. And then what did I say for the thickness? We're about an 8. I've got it set to scale my strokes, so I gotta reset it to an 8 periodically just to make sure everything behaves. And this box could be a little smaller, just so it fits the theme a touch better. Yeah, looks pretty good. I like that. And then last but certainly not least, we'll do this bad boy. This bad mamma jamma right here. We'll remove the fill, and we'll put on the stroke. And we'll make the stroke about an 8. And then we'll bring it in and make it smaller. Now let me select this bad boy again. There we go, that's looking pretty good. This feels a little dark in the background. Let's nudge that up a little. Nah, actually I like that. I like that better like that. So what's next? How much do we want to make this like a game bizzle, my grizzle? Well, let's take another... What is this? What aspect ratio is this? Is this still that aspect ratio I want? Let's just change it. 1920 by 1080. Perfect. We're gonna make this... Let's make this a weird, easy to identify color. We don't actually need a stroke. Let's make this like pink. And let's hit control bracket underneath, open bracket or close bracket underneath the plus, which will bring it all the way to the front. We'll hit shift to drag this around so that it stays the right aspect ratio. And I want to know how much space we have to work with above and below where we'd put gameplay footage in the big window. Because as I'm sure you know, do I have a window open for this? I don't. But basically, Game Boys have on the window screen, they've got like Game Boy Color, and there's like a thing written at the bottom, probably Nintendo. So we're gonna work with that here in a second. So we'll just make sure that's flush. And what I'm just trying to do is I'm trying to get this so that I can define some little bars at the top and bottom. And you might think to yourself, but Larry, isn't that going to like ruin my visible area to like work with when streaming? And like, a little bit, but in a good way that you're probably going to like, because if you want to use like active notifications through something like Streamlabs, you're going to want to have some space at the bottom and the top to put some data, if nothing else. And data, I mean like links to your YouTube, links to your social media. And so now I can make both of these the same color as this bad boy. Whoops, that was not what I wanted. And this I can make almost a lighter gray color, but maybe darker. Because I really want this to stand out as sort of a thing in the jig. And then you could do a tagline if you wanted to here. Like we could say, the Chupacabra Game Lad or something. Game Pal? Yeah, let's do it with Game Pal. Where's my font? I love me some on-ramp font. Make that white stand out. We could just put like the Chupacabra. We could do something silly like the Chupacabra Game Pal. Does this have italic? Not really. We can make it italic though. So that would be like a recreation of like a Game Boy thing. Or we could use, say, we could just say this is the Larry Chupacabra up at the top. We could say put my logo somewhere if I was feeling the urge. Let's open up my YouTube files. Let's go to channel graphics. Where is the transparency of my regular Chupacabra? Here we go. So we'll copy that over, and I'll bring it over here, and we'll just shrink it down, and we'll just be like, haha, it's me, Chupacabra Man. Back in town. So I'm back from outer space. That sweet Chupacabra look upon my face. That's looking pretty good. You could make this background color over here whatever you wanted to, really, as well. You could also make this like a gray, so that it's not completely white, so you can read stuff on the background, although I think the default color for embedding the chat from Twitch and other places is like a white color, so you don't necessarily have to worry about that. And then down here at the bottom, we could say like, whoops, that's not what I wanted. Like latest follower. And then you could say like latest follower / sub. So that down here is like your crawl, where people can see like, oh yeah, Jerry Maguire 57 just subscribed for those sweet dollary dues, and then it just appears down here. And then over here, you could have like your YouTube and stuff. So if we go So if we go over here and we go to like the, what is it? Font Awesome cheat sheet. This is actually a font that has got a bunch of embedded icons in it. You can use the basic version of it for free. And here we can go like, where's the YouTube icon? Do they not have a YouTube icon anymore? They must call it something else. But basically, you can go in here and you can put like the YouTube icon or the Twitter icon to indicate that you've got different social media accounts that people can like go click on in your description below. Might do a little talk about how you make like YouTube info cards and embed those, or Twitch info cards and embed those on your Twitch page. Do they not have YouTube, huh? You're kidding me. I was just in here the other day. Maybe this is the old cheat sheet. Alright, change of plan. YouTube logo PNG. And we'll just bootleg this a little bit differently. Let's see here. This'll work. Wait, no, this isn't transparent. Transparent background. This'll work. Wunderbar. Open this. We'll just download that off of whatever this weird website is. We'll just put this in here. And then we'll click and drag this over to my Illustrator thing. I don't know why my icons are freaking out. And then we'll make this small. And we'll just say like, we've got a YouTube thing. And we'll put like a button here. And then we could just say like the text, like our username is like C. Larry Chupacabra. That would tell people what our YouTube is. Then we can likewise go back over here. We can like Twitter logo PNG transparent. Images, just grab whatever bird you like. Bird's the word, put a bird on it. Bird up! We'll just say Twitter logo. I'll click and drag this over to my... Whoa, that's huge. It's not what she said. Maybe a little bit what she said. Depends on who you're asking. Put this bird down here. Make sure it's kind of roughly aligned. And then I'll bring this down here, holding Alt, and we'll say that's just like at Larry Chupacabra. And then let's align that up here to this thing. And then we'll get all of these things a little bit further up here so they look like they have about the same distance apart. And just like that, you've got like a ticker area where it's like... And then it'll be like your ticker tape is down here, Jerry Maguire subbed, it's your social media. You can put whatever you want there. And then you have like your faces over here going like, oh my god, ooh la la, it's so fancy. You gotta say it just like that or else it doesn't count. That's the rule, you know. There's your face. Like, wow, man. It's freaking great. Love it. And just like that, we've got, let's make this background a little darker. Just so you can see, like, there's a Chupacabra thing going on here. So this would be where your webcam is, this would be the chat is, where people saying stuff, and this would be where your game plays. In fact, let's just get, like, a random game. Just grab a screenshot of this game here, so I can just throw it in the background. This will work. Whoa, that's a huge image. Maybe not that one. This will work. Copy this image and paste it in there just to give you an idea. Copy image. Back to here. Trim it down. And when we are done, this is kind of roughly the idea of what it's gonna look like. See, isn't that nifty? Now you've got a lobby-style overlay. My goodness gracious, all the other kids at school are gonna be so jealous of you. You can go Fortniting right now. It's gonna be off the hook. So what do I need to do now? I'm gonna get this ready to, like, do stuff with. So I'm gonna delete this, make this white again. I'm gonna remove this. I'm gonna remove my text that I just added. I'll put it up here. I might use this later for something else. You never know. You're not clairvoyant. You can't tell the future. Or can you? What's the winning lottery numbers? No? Alright, well, I can't blame a guy for trying, right? Let's see, down here. I want this to align pretty well. Whoops. Alright, that looks pretty good. That's a very decent overlay, and I'm gonna let you guys have this overlay for free when I'm done, at least the basic bone structure of it. And then you can put whatever text you want on it for frizzle my grizzle. So we're just gonna go to File, Export, Export As, and then let's put it in my YouTube files. Let's go to Tutorials, let's go to... Do I have a sample files thing? Let's make a new sample files thing. 5_sample tut files. And then we'll go into here and be like, super cool Nintendo themed overlay. What is it trying to save this as? My googly goodness. We're going to save this as a JPEG. Now we're going to export that bad mamma jamma. We want this to be maximum quality, max power. We want this to be a high resolution thing. Let's make this an optimized thing. We'll art optimize it, and then we'll be like, go, do thing. What? Oh, I made this too big. Well, fine. I won't export it that big. Alright, are you happy now? Happy now, computer? Alright, let's go to tutorial files. Let's go back to sample files. Let's just call this Game Boy inspired lobby overlay V1. That's a JPEG. We'll hit export. We'll put this down to medium, and we'll say that's fine. Alright, that should do the thing. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to cut holes in it so that you can put whatever you want behind it inside of OBS. Mostly, I feel like we're going to end up cutting holes in the webcam and the footage area, so you can put whatever you want. And then we'll go from there, mon cher. So that's done. That's in here somewhere, in my YouTube files. Tutorial files. Sample files. Oh, that made this whole thing huge. Never mind. Don't use the export feature. I hadn't used that in a while. Let's just save this for legacy. File. Export, save web, legacy. Let's save that. Save the whole big honker. I didn't like that at all. I'll have to remember how to do that for later. So let's go to YouTube files. Tutorial. Sample. Let's just write over this so we can forget this happened. No one needs to know my crimes! This is getting deleted. This is getting opened. Open with Photoshop. Do the thing, it's magical. The hills are alive with the sound of pixels, with edits abound for 1,000 years. Alright, there we go, it's good stuff. So we're just gonna take the magical wand tool and we're like boink, boink. Delete that. Just, no, cut a hole in it. Fine, I'll unlock the layer. Are you happy now, Photoshop? Are you happy now? You're never happy. It's fine. Yeah, it looks pretty good. And because there's like a little edge, a little film around the inside of the screen because of polarization, we're gonna take this one step further and be extra fancy. I'm gonna hit Control J to duplicate that layer. I'm gonna double click this. I'm gonna add a stroke. And the stroke is going to add a thin little edge inside the screens. And we're gonna slightly pull that back. I'm gonna... Wait, blending options. Put this back. Let's go into here. Let's put the size down to like an 8 and the opacity down. So just the teeniest, tiniest. Let's actually put this down to like a 4. And this is gonna be like at an opacity level of like, let's put it down to like 50. Maybe higher, 75. And then let's put that 8 back. Maybe 6. Let's split the difference and make it 6. And then 55 for the opacity. And what this is gonna do is it's gonna put this little edge here. Like you're actually... Let's look up a Game Boy. Let's go to images. So it's hard to see, but like on the inside edge of these Game Boys, there's like a little shadow that you kind of get that paints the inside rim of the screen. And we kind of want to recreate that little effect. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm gonna actually make that a little bit thinner. There we go, that looks pretty good. And now I'm gonna save this for posterity. I'll save that as a PSD as well, just because that makes my life easier later. And then we'll save that. And what you can do later, if I put this to a oh wait, no, I gotta save this as JPEG. I'm being silly. Not a JPEG, a PNG, so it's transparent and fancy. PNGizzle my grizzle. And then we'll save that as the smallest. And what you can do with this now is you can pull out the type tool, whatever video or image editor you want, and just put some text up here, put some text down here. Throw this into OBS, put the text chat from, you know, people talking over here, put your webcam here, put the gameplay here. Bing, bang, boom. You're done, you're fancy, you're off to the races. It's great. Suave. So that has basically been how to go about creating your very own lobby overlay that's inspired by the Nintendo Game Boy. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions or comments out there, feel free to throw those down below. I'm always happy to help. I'm going to put a link to where you can download this for free in the video description in case you want it. You know, everyone loves a free template. I'll catch you next time. Bye, everybody, and have a good one.